Alright, in this video, I want to walk through why your cold email campaigns are not generating the results you're looking for. In this video, I'll walk through everything from the causes. What is causing this lack of results? Is it because you hired the wrong agency? Is it because you hired the wrong person internally? Is it because cold email just doesn't work for your business? Everything to the solution, like how you can actually get cold email to start generating your meetings and start generating your results. So in terms of the structure of this video, I will first talk about the common pitfalls or the common situations that lead to cold email challenges. Does cold email even work for your business? Signs cold email does not work for you. Signs that your team/agency is just not competent enough to get your results. An essential checklist for cold email success, and a few key takeaways and future steps. So we need to separate two things right now, right? Does cold email not work for my company at all? Or is the person/company running these campaigns just not capable of getting results? It's two separate things, right? So in scenario one, obviously there could very well be a scenario that cold email just does not work for your specific industry and company type. So understanding this distinction is crucial. Now, there is another scenario where you hired an agency or you might have somebody in-house who's running these campaigns and they're just not competent enough to get you these results. So cold email might very well be a viable strategy for your business, but the individuals or agency who is actually running these campaigns may not be competent enough to make it work and actually be successful. So the first situation of hiring a bad agency, you pay thousands of dollars a month, they launch some campaigns, you might get a few replies, but nothing major, you might not be booking any calls. And after 3 months, you're like, this agency sucks. This is what your conclusion is. Second scenario is like you try to in-house, you send a few 100,000 emails yourself, reply rates are fine, but no calls booked. After a couple months, you conclude, cold email doesn't work. Now, cold email doesn't work for your business is a possibility, and I'll walk through that now. In order to determine if cold email actually just simply does not work for your business, we need to first identify something very crucial in the success of cold email campaigns, and that is offers, having a very good offer. Now, your business falls under two categories. It is either a demand capture business or a demand generation business or a mix of both. So a demand capture offer is a timing-based offer. So stuff like recruiting, website redesigns, event management, tax advisory, all of these things are demand capture offers. In other words, prospects or people only buy from you or respond to you when they are looking for that thing, right? I am only looking for a logo when I'm looking for a logo. I'm only looking for a recruiter when I'm looking for a recruiter, right? Something like this is harder to scale via email and it's harder to get results via email. Why? Because it's very timing based. You're depending on whether the other person actually is interested in your solution. The second scenario is a demand generation offer. So this is a scenario where your offer is always relevant, right? These solve ongoing consistent problems like lead generation, podcast sponsorships, fundraising. This has a much higher likelihood of success with cold email because you can generate demand via email and then have that conversation via the Zoom call. So two separate things. Cold email performance heavily depends on whether your offer is demand capture or demand generation. This is something we have to keep in mind. So if you actually walk into the timing and market readiness part, for demand capture offers, success depends a lot on catching someone at the right time. If you're a recruitment agency, and you're filling roles like software engineers, not everyone's looking for a software engineer. So, you will reach out to them and they're like, yep, I'm looking for a software engineer now. But maybe I wasn't looking for a software engineer a month ago, right? For demand generation offer, timing plays a smaller role since there's always latent demand. So for demand generation, stuff like buying up businesses, stuff like lead generation, stuff like paid advertising, these things are ongoing needs people have. So, over here in the bottom, you can see like the percentage in which like something is high timing dependency and low timing dependency. Staff placement is very high timing dependency and lead generation is very low timing dependency. So if you actually walk through the target market in terms of reachability and market size, that's also very important. So we first talked about the offer, right? We talked about the importance of having a good offer for generating results via cold outreach. The second scenario is the target market in terms of reachability and market size. So here, reachability. Do my prospects even check email? Does the prospect even have a LinkedIn profile? So if you're in the blue collar industry, do they have a Google Maps location, right? Can we find their email addresses? B, market size. If your total market size is below 500 prospects, cold email is not really going to work. Cold email works great when you work with multiple customer verticals. So I'm not saying that you need to work with multiple customer verticals, but it is very ideal, because if your market size is less than 500 people, you might be better off doing some account-based marketing or LinkedIn outreach or something more personalized. But with cold email, the big success comes from the fact that you're targeting multiple verticals. The whole idea of using email outreach is so we can reach out to as many leads as possible in our target market and book meetings with them. And if the market is too small, it's just not worth it, right? All right, up until this point, I've discussed the possibility that cold email just does not work for your business. It could be a scenario where you have very few leads, you don't have a big enough market size. It could be a scenario where you have a demand capture offer and things just take more time to generate results. All of those are very well a possibility. And all of those are signs that probably cold email is not the best channel for you. Now, there is very well a second scenario that poor execution is the problem. Like, cold email does work for your business, but you just don't have the right people, or you don't have somebody competent enough to actually generate you these results. So what I will do now is open my whiteboard and actually walk through, how you can identify if it is an issue with the person. All right, so let's walk through some KPIs so you can identify whether there is an issue with the cold email system that you're currently running, so you can identify and figure out how you can actually fix it. So here are the KPIs that I typically look for to make sure that I am within benchmark. So for every 10,000 emails I am sending, I want to make sure that I'm getting a 1% reply rate, which means from the 10,000, at least 100 replies, right? 100 replies, which means I'm getting a 1% reply rate. Now, this includes out of office, right? This is something to keep in mind. Now, from here, I want to make sure that I'm getting a 10% positive reply rate. So 10% positive reply, that means I'm getting 10 positive replies here and 10% positive reply rate, okay? From the 10, I want to make sure that I'm getting at least a 30% call booking rate. So I'm booking at least 3 calls here, which means I'm getting a 30% call booking rate. Now, I will be very honest, this depends a lot on industry. So again, stuff like demand capture offer versus demand generation offer plays a very big role here in actually determining how well your campaigns are going to work. Campaigns that are more demand generation typically perform better. And there's also other factors that come into play. But typically, I want to make sure for every 1,200 emails, I'm booking 1 meeting, right? So my ratio is 1,200 to 1 or 1,500 to 1. Sometimes I might push it to 2,000 to 1, but like ideally, I wanna be within that scenario. Now, you might very well be in a scenario where, for example, you are seeing that I'm getting a less than 1% reply rate. You're like, okay, I looked at this, my reply rate is like 0.56. Okay, so the reasons for that, one of the major reasons is that you have a deliverability issue. So something to do with the email accounts, something to do with your email sending, infrastructure itself. And this is typically a very complex thing, which I can make another video about, but you want to make sure that that is set up correctly. This usually means you have some sort of deliverability issue and you're not landing in the inbox like correctly. Now from here, you have your positive reply rate. So for every 100 replies, I want to make sure I'm getting 10%. So if I'm getting less than that, it could be a reason with market resonance. So like, for example, if you're getting like a 2%, for example, that means there's like some sort of issue with your offer, number one. It also could be targeting. It also could be your messaging itself. My handwriting is not the best so far, but I think you can understand this: targeting and then your messaging. So you just want to have these in sync. So for example, you could reach out to a list of investors. And when you're reaching out to investors, you're using very long language, very complicated English, where this could actually affect your positive reply rate, right? Your call booking rate. So this is like, for example, if you're getting a very low number, then there's something wrong with your appointment setting skills, or there's something wrong with the appointment setting system. So you might not have you might not be reaching out to them in time. You might not be responding to them in time. So if someone responds at 10:56 a.m., maybe you're responding at like 5 p.m. So then this causes a delay in your call booking rate. So the lead is already hot. You might as well respond then and there, and then call them, ask them a couple questions if you want to qualify them, and then book the meeting on the calendar. So these are things that are playing a role. So you want to look at these KPIs and identify the bottlenecks and fix it from there. Okay, so going back to this now, let us summarize. What you have in front of you is a checklist. So 2 scenarios. Does cold email work for my business, and are my campaigns poorly executed? That is also another scenario. So does cold email work for my business? My target market uses email professionally. I can find 10,000 plus decision makers easily. I have a demand generation offer. If all of these are checked, then cold email works for you, right? Are my campaigns poorly executed? Am I sending at least 10,000 emails a month? Am I getting at least a 1% reply rate? Yes. Okay. Am I getting a 10% positive reply rate? Maybe not. Maybe I can see here I'm getting 1.96%, for example. Okay, if you're getting 1.96%, then there's an issue with your messaging, there's an issue with your offer, issue with your targeting, something to do with the market resonance itself. So you might want to look into that. Obviously, to determine if your campaigns are working properly, and you might want to have some sort of expert or someone who's very well versed in the cold email game to actually look at this. In which case, you can always book a call in the description if you want us to audit your campaigns. Now, in terms of next steps, if your campaigns fall under B, poorly executed, you might want to check out my video that walks through how you can book more calls using 1,000+ AI personalized emails. But apart from that, hope this video is valuable and have a great day.